what is it you want to be known for, or what you want us to be known for in the corporate client world?
Well, that's quite a big question. I think sometimes people forget that the events are not standalone. They are part of a bigger marketing cycle especially for corporate clients. The event is part of their cycle. It's not a standalone thing for them. It's a tool that they are using to take their message to consumers, to business partners, to internal stakeholders, to staff. It's a tool, and it's a tool that is important because it's their portal, if you like. It's their television screen. It's their window to what it is they're saying, and it has to be right, but it's part of that cycle. And I think where we come in and where we as an agency want to be slightly different is that we can make that standalone thing happen, and we can do it brilliantly, but actually we want to be part of the conversation earlier, and we can help on that full cycle. The event itself isn't the end of that journey. I think you have corporate clients sometimes that, when the event is over, that's it, we've wrapped it up, we've walked away, and now we're going to think about how we do it again next year. And they forget that next year or the next event is still part of the cycle. It's still part of that communication process. And you don't ever end an event. You don't ever stop. You think about where you're taking what you've learned and the messaging and the communication piece, and then you're moving it to the next level. Sometimes I get a little bit fed up using the word 365, and it's, we're in that cycle, but it is actually that. It is part of that. The event is part of that wider approach, and where we add value is by understanding what it is they're trying to achieve at the start, and then adding to the narrative and helping them to tell the story from the point that they start it and not halfway through. If you ask an agency to come in halfway through,
yes,
they're never going to understand how to translate where you started. If you want to achieve that and you want an agency to translate what you want your message to be, you have to involve them at the start of the conversation and be open to them being with you, because otherwise you're never going to understand, and it'll always be a standalone thing.
Yeah, I think that also it resonates with me because from a transactional point of view, one of the words I hate is supplier. So I get it. If you're buying, like, I don't know, 50,000 pencils, you can sort of go to multiple suppliers, get the best deal, get a unit cost broken down so it's really cheap. But that's probably where I would use the word supplier. Whereas we are an agency partner, and that relationship that you've just described is really critical to not just being seen as somebody who books a venue and puts tables and chairs together and feeds everybody at midday, because there are businesses that do that. But to mistake a business like that for a creative agency, or to mistake a creative agency for a business like that, is to miss the point, isn't it?
Yeah,
so I
absolutely.
guess it's our job to make sure that people realize, clients realize what it is, what they can value that we can provide. So I guess I'm trying to sort of, in a really ham-fisted way, trying to get around to the idea of how do we value our creative approach to events, and how do we want clients to value that as well, in terms of, it being something that's really key to our DNA.
I think that what you just said makes complete sense. We've always been known as a logistics agency. That's something that we started at. MCI in the UK was always, we do logistics, we do, meeting management, we do that kind of admin side of meetings. We're on this journey now where we're shifting, and we want to shift that perception away from being, we're not logistics. We can make that happen, but that's not what we do. And you know what's really important is that events aren't always the answer. Doing an event isn't always the answer. So when you come to a creative agency like us and you say, I want an event, we might produce an event, we might do an experience, we might do an activation, but we might come to you and look at what you want to achieve and say to you, that's actually not what you need. What you need is something completely different. It could be anything. It could be a marketing campaign. It might be a movie. It might be a book. It might be anything, but it doesn't necessarily have to be an event. And I think sometimes creative agencies and event agencies get, that we've come to you for an event. That's what we want you to achieve. But actually we might challenge you and say, but you don't need that. You need something slightly different. And that's the difference between being a creative agency and an events agency. And that's where we need that shift in mentality to change. We can do an event and we have all of the expertise to do it, but we will challenge you as a creative agency and let you know if we don't think that's the right answer for you.